Welcome back to today's episode, and we are going to be going over what if civilization started over in Europe. Previously mentioned on last time we streamed this, there was a giant disease going on all the way over here and all the way into the Americas, which the French and the the Iberians took care of after the Iberians had committed mass genocide in the Americas, where they had killed millions of Prussians and millions of French, though they also killed millions or like thousands of the Native American tribes. So they had to kill that much, and this is when the French were like, "Oh," so they had to start killing everyone. They even freed their colony all the way up here, which works out for them. But we're gonna go ahead and begin to go over the major coalition that has recently just formed. So we are gonna see a new alliance appear, and it's gonna be between the let me just between the Iranians or no the Irish, the nope wrong layer, between the Welsh, the Irish, the Prussians, and um not many other nations agree, except for this Native American nation, though no one really cares. So Prussia actually kicked them off the team. So this is what we will have them looking like as now. Based on how this alliance looks, yeah, the strongest nation in the world, France. Second strongest, Prussia. But we also have the Iranians on this team, the Russians, the Germans, the Iberians, the Egyptians, the Greeks, the Moldovans, the Crimeans, the Croatians or Bosnians, and then we got the Montenegrins and the Albanians and the Finnish. So all these countries, oh yeah, the Cornwallish and the English, which we will see a union between these two nations, and there it's going to be underneath the English government. Actually, it's going to be underneath the English government, but this is a prettier color. Go to remove their capital. Actually, I'm changing my mind a lot. We'll have a dual capital for this country, the first one in the world so far. And just for the treaty for what happened in Scotland, there will be massive land trades all the way up here, as they wanted this much land. Let me just go ahead and highlight it a little. They wanted this much land, and the Irish wanted this much. Basically, almost take over their entire coastline over here. Um, let me fix it. Okay, they wanted. This is gonna be These are gonna be land trades between the two. The Irish, they're not gonna get as much as the English, though. They will continue the trade, and this will be more relevant into the far future. As now, if we go ahead and focus on to the Finnish over here, where they had to do a massive land exchange with the Prussians because of what they had done to the people all the way over here. Yeah, there was a massive land exchange. Russia wanted in on it. They wanted like that much land, and Finland would get the rest. So we will see the Russians pay for these lands all the way up here, and this island up here. The amount of money they had paid is up to y'all, but we will see Russia pay for all these lands, and again, that'll be more relevant into the far future or close future, depends on how you view it. But we will see the Russians quickly buy this much land. Let me just go and make a highlight. Um, no. Okay, there. So these were original Finnish lands, and the original Finnish lands, and now this much territory of Finland is now Russian. Oh, Russian. As this is what they look like now. Finland still holds the majority of population all the way over here. And again, I will not be upgrading this map until like episode 20 or something like that. Again, something major happens. Also, during the entire elimination of population area, we will actually see a few bits of population centers go bye-bye. Yeah. The Irish, especially as they had not been taking care of their civilians over here, which is very sad. Though they will lose around 1 million population. The French, I believe, they were the ones who got hit very hard. They actually told their populace to clean themselves and stuff like that. That actually worked out successfully for them. And the Prussians, they will be releasing several new nations today. We're gonna have a trying to figure out a color. A pinkish purple nation over here. It's gonna appear right here. It's gonna be fairly small. Probably like the smallest in the world. And all the way down here. It's gonna be this small. I don't believe, yeah. It's gonna be this small again, and we're gonna have a new nation up here, and it's gonna be a little bit brown. Wow. Um, I'm gonna just fill that in. This is not them taking over. I just gotta figure out a color. Uh, hmm. Let me just borrow this color real quick. Eh. Alright, that's fine. We will go ahead and place their capitals. Let me just select the right color. Their capitals will be placed, the pink country will place their capital right there. The brown team right here, the darker brown team will place their capital right down there. So this is what we have Africa looking like, and all of this land right here used to be all Prussian now, as now this is what they look like. Not too good for them, but also releases several amounts of tension. And due to the close relations between the Irish, let me just fix that up real quick. Due to the close relationships between the Irish and the Prussians, we will see a huge land exchange over here, as the Irish want more over here, and the Prussians want more into the Hudson Bay. And we will see a very gratitude amount of given land, this much. Again, I'm going to just highlight it in very light color. They're going to give over a little bit of land, even some over here, for them to be able to, yeah, they're going to give over this much land to Ireland. That way they can have their two claims right here fully link up. And now we're going to have the Prussians claim quite a large portion up here, even several islands, though it's not as important for sea access to the Atlantic Ocean, though the Prussians are heavily investing. And this is how much the Prussians are going to take. They would also probably take over these two islands up there. So we will see huge land exchange from here all the way down here. And then we see the Prussians take all of these lands. They take these three islands up here and these several small islands right here. Other than that, that's enough for the land exchanges. And we will see another union taking place in the Baltic countries. These two countries have been separated for many years and ongoing until this very day, as now they will be splitting up. We will see this green country right here unite with this older green country, and they'll become one single nation. Sadly, they will be removing their capital off the map, though it will be suggested as a very large major city. Now we're going to move on to the Middle East. As you see, this alliance, this giant alliance up here, yeah, these these countries down here, these two right here, do not have a capital. Oh my gosh, I hate this. I swear I fixed it during the stream. Alright, hide the city later. We see the Greeks talking about splitting up the... What is... Okay, I'm just... We see the Greeks splitting up the Middle East, or talking about it, splitting it up with Egypt, Iran, and Saudi Arabia, as they would all get equal portions if they all participate. Now we will see, and actually I lied about land exchange. We will see a little bit of land exchange down here in order for a bunch of money, and for the Saudi Arabians to get even more land out of this area up here, up where they're going to be getting. And this is when we'll go ahead and begin to have these wars taken out. All the way in the modern day Jordanese area, the Egyptians will go ahead and take over this much land. They're going to stay true to their word, as they're not going to expand much. They're probably just going to expand this much, probably. And we will see the Saudi Arabians quickly begin to go on the move, as they'll invade from the northern part of, or the southern part of Iraq, I want to say. Yeah, Iraq. As they'll quickly invade into these regions. And we will see the Greeks quickly begin to move into both of these countries, as this was their previous lands. They'll quickly take over this capital, almost quickly surrendering most of the country, which leaves a very small portion for the Iraqians. And they'll begin to even take a little bit, even more land all the way down here, as they'll take over this much. And, yeah, it doesn't seem to be too fair to the Iranians, as this was actually set up by the Saudi Arabians, the Egyptians, and the Greeks. As the rest of it will go over to Iran, this area right here, and the other region of this country down here. And I will go ahead and do the peace treaty with y'all, as the Caucasus country up here will not be participating for various reasons. As now we will go ahead and begin to have the other countries. Yeah. Come on. Now, Egypt, let's start with you first. We'll actually have you gaining a little bit more land all the way up here, but other than that, this is the amount of land you're going to be getting. Now, Greece, you're going to be getting a bunch of land, despite you losing all this land in the Great War with the Greeks. They'll be regaining most of these territories now. Yeah. They'll regain this much from both of these territories. They'll gain it. Boom. And now time for the Iranians. They didn't participate, so they wouldn't get as much in the war. So they got this much. It looks weird. Okay, there. They got this much. As now we will go ahead and begin to focus on their land claims. As now there's an entire new territorial dispute between all these countries, as now, since Saudi Arabia didn't get as much land, they will be claiming even more. They claim a huge chunk over here, which will actually go ahead and go over to the Saudi Arabians, as the Egyptians didn't find this fair. So they will actually go ahead and accept all of this. Boom. And the Egyptians, they will ask a little bit of land exchange all the way up here. To what land exchange? The Greeks would gain a little bit more down here. As now we will go ahead and have Greece go ahead and annex all these regions. As now we will go ahead and have Iran gain all these regions that they control now. Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Greece, which got most of the land spoils, though they did not get any of the coast, which was the Iranians' plan, as that's what they were secretly hoping would happen. That's kind of why the Egyptians traded that piece of land. But now we will see the invasion of Crimea, as suggested in the last video. Though these countries have quickly kicked out the Crimeans as they had not seen them as trustworthy. They had quickly kicked them out and stuff like that. And this is when we're gonna have the Greeks quickly begin to invade into Crimea, as they do not see as Crimea as a useful member. They'll quickly send out their navy from the Black Sea and from the strait all the way down here and quickly begin to move towards the Crimeans. And this is when they will get the declaration of war of their messenger to the Crimeans, as this is what their navy looks like, as now they're beginning to, let me just fix this, there we go, as now their navy is beginning to quickly begin to land troops on their borders, as we'll have a giant successful landing all the way into the Asian part of, or the Caucasus region of the Crimean areas, and they'll quickly begin to jump the bridge right here, or drawbridge. And the Crimeans are quickly beginning to realize that they are trapped. They cannot call for anyone to help them, and if they did, that would create World War II. And they don't want that. They want to de-escalate. And yeah, the Prussians, they don't accept them into their alliance, and that'll lead to the quick fall of the Crimean capital. And yeah, this is when we'll see huge encirclement of cities. The Moldovans will actually join in on this before the Greeks had taken over their capital. So they ended up taking over around 2 major cities up here, and that was probably about it. And we'll have the Russians. They want to say a little bit of a surprise, and they'll quickly begin to move in, and they'll occupy a huge amount of territory. That is way too similar. Okay, there. As we will see, the Russians quickly begin to occupy a huge amount of territory from the Crimeans. Cruelly, they will be surviving out of this. I need to create a province map. Just realized. And this is when we're going to see the gains of Romania or Moldova. Not sure on that yet. But, hide. Okay, there. We will see the land gains from Moldova or Romania, as they will gain this much territory. And we will see the Greeks actually jump over from the Black Sea, and they'll gain a bunch of territory. The Caucasus nation will also gain a bunch of territory, surprisingly, despite not being in the war. Though a lot of countries like them, and they don't want to be seen as aggressive to them. Though that was not the original intent. And this is the split of Crimea. Very sad, though it was eventually supposed to happen. As we will see all these land gains gained from every single country. Let's start off with the smallest claim, or gained amount of land. The Caucasus Nation, or East Georgia. I'm gonna just call it Georgia, as now this is what Georgia is taking. They've taken over this much territory. And the second least amount of land, probably Russia, though this is elongated and this is condensed. Anyways, the Russians will quickly gain this much territory. The second amount of gained most land, the Moldovans, they'll gain a little bit of territory, and they'll make themselves a little bit thicker on this side. On this side. And last but not least, we have the Greeks, as now they hold a bunch of territory in the Black Sea, and they're kind of like Russia. They're trying, but not after the warm water ports. They're trying to go over the entire Mediterranean, That's kind of their goal. And the next weakest country they could invade would be Moldova. But we got to remember alliances. They're in the same alliance. Um, Crap. We got to erase the Crimeans as they had kicked them out. Yeah. The Caucasus Nation is next, or Georgia, and Iran is not too keen about what's happening over in Greece. But despite that, their fencing relations are actually getting better, as they'll do a little bit of buying a territory over here. They'll buy a little bit of territory they had lost in the Great War of the Greeks, as they'll buy this much, and they'll go ahead and gain it. As now we will see the talks of splitting up um, Georgia, as the Russians would gain quite a bit of land, and the entire other region, or all the way over here. Let me just what? As this is what they plan. Greece would take over this amount of land, as they can do whatever they want, and Iran wants this amount of land. They think it's fair, though the Russians don't really think it is. Though they do get a bunch more coastlines, for example, same as the Iranians. Though the Greeks are getting the most as it curves around. Yeah, as now we will see the gang up onto Georgia, as now they will quickly begin to invade. And since beforehand the Greeks have been here before and they know these mountains, they'll quickly begin to move through them quickly, and they'll make another landing along the other side of the mountains, which will prove very successful. Now on to the Russian front, they'll quickly go on to their side of the deal, and they'll quickly begin to invade straight to the Caspian Sea. As they'll quickly no, as they'll quickly invade this area all the way over here, and it will continue to grow, and they'll even begin to invade a little bit of territory where they were not agreed to. They'll invade into that much, despite all of this territory originally supposed to belong to the Greeks. As now we have the Greeks beginning to push through the mountains successfully, and they will continue to push through, and we will see the Iranians on the Iranian side, as the same time as the Russians have been doing this along with the Greeks. You'll see the invasion of from the Iranian side, which they'll quickly surround their capital, and they'll do a bunch of raids and sieges, which will work out in their favor, and they'll capture the city. And despite that being like the most part of the war, we will see. Let's go ahead and turn on the city layer. The most amount of cities are gonna go over to the Greeks, which they're gonna be expanding into territories they have never been into before, which is very worrisome to the Iranians, though since they are an ally and they've been growing relationships beforehand, that'll continue to grow. And we will see the Russians quickly seize all these territories or gain these territories. And we will see the surrender of the Georgians, as this much will go over to the Greeks, and the other half of the other part will go over to the Iranians. The other part will go over to the Russians. As now, let's go and discuss peace treaty. What? No. Okay, there. We will have the Russians quickly gain a bunch of territory all the way down here, and they'll gain quite a bunch of cities over here. They'll even take a little bit of land all the way over here where it was originally not agreed upon. Though the Greeks will not complain, as they got all of the Black Sea territories, and they'll continue to do so, as they'll claim around this much, leaving not a whole no there. They'll claim around this much territory, and it will continue to look like so, as we will see the Iranians claim a bunch of territory, though it's the smallest claim. They do have the most popular city, though, which will work out for their tourist destinations. And the Iranians will continue to grow their. Oh yeah, South America. We will see The exploration continued to grow into the rainforest, but many countries and explorers have given up on exploring it, though they are beginning to push into the really deep areas. Now we will move into the more modern day Brazilian areas where it's not as rainforesty, though it is more tropical. They will explore a heavy amount. And they will begin to explore around the ocean areas all the way down here. This is when we'll see them find a huge bay all the way down over here into modern day Rio de Janeiro thing. Yeah. And we will finally see the southern Chinese explore Hawaii. The southern Chinese. Actually, trying to think, is that what I really want it to be? No. Okay, so we will actually see a country who hasn't created any colonies and is not that did not suffer much into the last war, and it will be the Bangladeshi team as they will claim all of Hawaii. Though their claim is very far away, kind of like Iran's, and they're in the same region all the way from Iran to Bangladesh, as their claims are fairly close. As now we will continue to see more exploration into the eastern Pacific area as they'll reach the Andes Mountains over here. And this is when we're going to have a very small exploration area all the way down over here. And they'll begin to explore all the way down into the Andes Mountains. And it will look like this. As the Andes Mountains are very difficult to explore, though they do find a little bit of an opening. And they will explore past the Andes Mountains. And they see the other side of the rainforest. So they'll go around the rainforest, staying close to the mountains, though not too close as it could be seen as dangerous. As this is how much land they have now explored. The northern part of the Andes Mountains are up there, and they're beginning to explore into the southern region of the Andes Mountains, as now they've escaped the rainforest and they figured that out. And they'll quickly begin to explore most of the Andes Mountains, and this is when we'll see them fully explore all of these regions. Boom. And now, they find a huge giant lake right here. I just wanted to say they found a giant lake. That's it. Yeah. We will see more exploration into the more southern Pacific region. Though that's probably going to be all for the exploration today. And we will continue to see more updates into these regions over here. The borders of Yemen, the Yemenese country right here. The borders have been unchanged for like probably centuries now, but that will change today as they will do a land exchange with the Saudi Arabians as the Saudi Arabians want more coast down here, and they'll even give them a little bit northern land up here. They'll gain that much land, and we'll see the Yemenis gain a bunch of land up here. Let me just boom. They'll actually be gaining a bunch more land compared to the Saudi Arabians, though the Saudi Arabians are getting probably the same amount of major cities, if not like one more. As now we can see the full annexation of both of these territories become something like this. As now over here there will be a little bit of disputes, though they will quickly figure it out, and the disputed territories will quickly go over to the Saudi Arabians. As now we will see the Egyptian and Sudanese wars. I haven't hinted anything about this, though there has been a lot of things going on, as Ethiopia wants their lands, and Ethiopia has a bunch of civil unrest down here, which the Sudanese wants to encourage. Though, oh yeah, over here, I'm gonna just solve this. Yeah, there. And that will be all for today, as this is quite a long video, or short if I manage to edit it very well. But that'll be all for today's episode. Not as long as I used to make it, as I am kind of rushed right now. I did have some other ideas, but you will be seeing a grand war coming in soon. and several unions coming in soon, and more countries becoming more superpowers or major powers, regional powers, stuff like that. It's mostly the two huge superpowers competing in the world is Korea and the Egyptians, or not the Egyptians, the French, as the French are more powerful than the British Empire during their colonization era. I mean, I hope you all enjoyed today's video and peace out. Hello, thank you.